everyone, my name is Christine. I work at the Hollowbrook Branch of the Mercer County Library System, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about regrowing your vegetables at home. Now, I always have a vegetable garden in my yard, and this is the time of year that I start to think about what I want to grow. But this year I'm trying not to go out of my house that much, and so I started thinking more about what vegetables I had at home that I could regrow into plants. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the ideas that I have. So the first thing that I always love to have in my garden in the summer is tomatoes. It's easy to grow, they're delicious, they grow great in this area, and so the first thing I tried to grow was some tomatoes and some cucumbers. So the seeds are inside, as you know. So as I was making my salad one day for lunch, before I ate the tomato, I simply scooped out some of the seeds on the inside. And they came right out. And I did the same with a cucumber. So when you cut a cucumber open, the easiest way to get the seeds out is to cut it in half, slice it in half, and then you can see the seeds in the middle. So if you just use a spoon, you can go like this and scoop the seeds right out. So then you have all these tomato seeds and these cucumber seeds, and this is as easy as can be. I had some pots and some potting soil, and I simply stuck the seeds. I rinsed them off a little bit first, but stuck the seeds. All you have to do is stick them right under the dirt with your finger. They don't have to go deep. You just stick them right in there. And then a few days later, they started to sprout. Now, I made the mistake of not labeling which pot was which. So one of these is cucumber, one of them is tomato, but I did get at least one plant from each, and once they get a little larger, I'll be able to tell which is which. But you can see that they'll start to grow. You want to water them regularly if you see that they're dry. This one is just one plant, so I'm going to leave it as it is. This one you can see that a lot of the seeds I put in started to grow, so they're kind of crowded in there. So you actually don't want that. They'll do better if they have a little more space to grow. Plus, I don't necessarily want 12 tomato plants in my backyard anyway. So if you want, you can actually just pull out some of the smaller ones that might be in the way and give the larger ones a chance to grow and be healthy. Now, once these plants get a little larger, and once we're past our frost-free date, in New Jersey, that's usually around April 15th. You can look up the exact date online. But once the plants are a little bigger and you've reached the frost-free date so that they won't die outside, you can plant these outside in your yard. You can put them in a pot or you can put them directly in the ground, and you will get tomatoes and cucumbers during the summer. Now, another thing that I love to grow every summer, because it's easy to grow and delicious, is basil. Now, I had some fresh basil that I had gotten at the grocery store to use in a recipe, and I just took one sprig of my basil, cut it off so that there was a fresh cut at the bottom, and put it in a little vase of water. So all you need is for that bottom part of the basil to be in water, and let it sit for a few days. This has been in here for a few days, and you could see that the roots are starting to grow. So I'm going to give this a few more days in the water, and then again you could just plant it in some dirt, and it should start to grow into a new basil plant. And then after our frost-free date, I'm going to put this outside into my vegetable garden. Get that back in there. I'm going to try the same thing with a sprig of cilantro, but I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to experiment. The leaves on this look a little sad. That's only because my kids keep coming over and eating them. So then we have tomato, cucumber, and basil, which will all go outside. Another thing that I've never tried before is garlic. Now, a lot of times, if I let my garlic sit a little too long, let me find my garlic. You'll see that it gets a little green sprout coming out of the top. So what you can do is plant this right into a pot or into the ground outside so that the green is sticking up out of the ground. Now this one I did about a week ago, and you could see how much the green has grown already. Now this will continue to grow, and I've never done this before, but I read that when the bottom third of the leaves turns yellow, that's when you can harvest it and you'll have a whole new bulb of garlic. So we're going to try that this year. That's a new one for me. Another thing that you can try, which I haven't planted yet, is potatoes. This will work for regular potatoes or sweet potatoes, and all you want to do is, I'll let this one go a little bit so that it would be dramatic. You could see where it's starting to sprout. Those are the best bits to grow from. So you want to cut it probably into quarters. And then you just throw these into some dirt. You could do it in a pot or you could do it directly into the ground, and you should be able to grow new potatoes from your old ones. All right, one more thing is some greens. So this will work with romaine lettuce or with celery. I'm trying it with celery. So if you have celery and you've used the stalks, or the same with romaine lettuce, you save the bulb at the bottom. If you just sit that in about an inch of water, you should, it hasn't started yet. You can't really see much growth. There's a little bit right there, but you'll start to see new growth coming up, and you will be able to regrow your romaine or regrow your celery. You can also do this outside in the ground as well. But we're trying it in here. We're going to start it here. Okay, my last two are a little different. They don't grow naturally in this area, so they're not something that I can plant outside, but I think it's fun to watch them grow, and if you want to do this with kids, it's fun for kids to watch them as well. So the first is pineapple. With my cutting board. Now, if you have a pineapple and you've cut it up and you've eaten the fruit, what you can do is save the top of it. Now what you want to do is peel off the last few layers of leaves at the bottom. I already did mine, but you could just peel off, just pull them off like that. The last few layers of leaves, so there's a little space here. And then you want to just submerge this in some water and let it sit. And you'll see it's just starting on this one. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the camera, but it is starting to get little signs of roots growing off the bottom here. And after a little while, you can actually do this directly in soil, or you can watch it. I like to watch it. And then after a little while, you can put this in a pot. Like I said, we don't live in the right area to grow pineapples, so you can't plant this one outside. It would be too cold for it. But if you put this in a large pot, it'll continue to grow indoors. Now, I actually did this. Now I'm at the Hollowbrook Branch, but I used to work at the Lawrence branch of the library. So Jennifer Crabtree and I one summer had a garden club with the kids, and we did this project. We planted the pineapple in a pot. We left it in our staff room. And I stopped working at the Lawrence branch. I moved over to the Hollowbrook branch. But at one point I got an email from Jennifer saying, we have a pineapple. It takes a couple years actually. It's about 2 or 3 years later that you might see your first baby pineapple starting to grow on your plant. But we did actually successfully grow a pineapple. So it does work if you keep it inside, keep it warm, and you have a nice big pot for it. Another thing that is fun to watch is avocado. Now if you have an avocado, you know it has a nice big pit inside. You can save your avocado pit, and what you want to do is you want to stick 4 toothpicks or skewers, one into each side of it, and then you want to, same as with the pineapple, you want to submerge the bottom of it in water. The toothpicks will hold it up like that for you. So you can tell which side is the bottom. It's the sort of flatter side, and the pointier one is the top. Now it hasn't started growing yet, but you'll see it starting to, you can't really see on camera I'm sure, but you're starting to get little cracks in the pit, which is normal, and you'll start to see roots grow out of the bottom, and then the plant will grow out of the top. And once it gets a little bigger, once you have a sturdy root system, you can plant this in some dirt. Now this is something I also did with kids at the library, so I have one here. This is from a few months ago. I did this with kids at the library. When the roots got bigger, we put it in a pot, and then it continued to grow. I put it in a larger pot, so this is what it looks like now. Can you even see the whole thing? So I don't know what's going to happen with this. I've never tried it before. I clearly can't put it outside. I don't know if it will get fruit inside my house. But I'm just going to let it keep growing. As long as it's still alive, I'm going to keep watering it, and it continues to get new leaves. So we'll see what happens. Maybe in a few years I'll actually get an avocado on it. Who knows? Now I'd like to mention one more fruit before I go, and that is pumpkin. I don't have a pumpkin now because it's not that time of year, but every year when we have a pumpkin around Halloween, what I do at the end of the season is instead of throwing it out, I just throw it into my garden. I literally would throw it anywhere in the garden. The seeds get into the ground, and then the next spring I'll see a little pumpkin plant starting to grow, and I always end up growing my own little pumpkin at home from last year's pumpkin. So that's a fun thing you can do in the fall. You can, if you think about it, throw your pumpkins out in your garden, and maybe you'll get a pumpkin plant next year. So one more thing I want to mention before I go. You don't need a lot of supplies for this, obviously, except your vegetables and some pots to grow them in, some dirt. But if you don't have the pots, I have a bunch of these in my garage. If you don't have these, there are other things you can use. You can use upcycled plastic containers, so yogurt containers, things like that. Just make a few holes in the bottom so that the water can drain out, and you can use that. You can also use toilet paper tubes. When you're done with your toilet paper, just simply sit them all on a tray, fill them with dirt, and put the plants in there. Now as you're watering, the cardboard does start to break down a little, But once you're ready to plant them outside, you can literally take this whole thing and put it in the ground outside. The cardboard will disintegrate and the plant will grow. So that's a really eco-friendly way to do it as well if you don't have the pots at home. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoy your veggie growing, and I'll see you next time.